So like the genes in general, right? Like, I mean, I'm fascinated in all that stuff, but like you hear about a designer babies, right? Let's talk about designer babies. So what does designer babies mean to you? It means like what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, you always think about like the movie Gattaca, right? Where they have this story about how to design your own baby. I would say as it's possible that some point in the future, human beings as a race or societies will become okay with this idea that you could do this. I would say right now, I think really there's a big, hesitancy among, scientists, bioethicists, world leaders, so forth, that, not to be able to utilize this technology, right? And anytime a new technology comes out, right, people always are thinking like, is it going to be used for good or for evil, right? So, I don't want to necessarily say that would be an evil approach, but I think, really, actually that film is a good example of some of the ethical questions that arise from wanting to do that type.
Bioethicist, I never heard of that. But I guess I kind of have like a more fundamental question about genes. Like, all right, so I do understand eye color, hair color, like, okay, but what about intelligence, IQ, talent? Those aren't as black and white, right? Like you hear about like designer babies, you can pick their gender, you can maybe pick their height, their eye color, but like, okay, is IQ a gene? Like, isn't it more like complex than that? Nature versus nurture?
It's probably more complex than that. There's probably several genetic components involved, and again, like you mentioned, it's sort of like nature nurture. There's also, how you're educated, right? Can affect your ability to
your circumstances growing up and all that stuff.
Exactly. So, it's really difficult. Like I said, I think, those are pretty complex, like, molecular biology.
And like, do we know the answers? Like, is there an answer? Like, is there, like, because you hear about high IQ for designer babies. It'll be on that one specifically. Because like someone can have a high IQ, have a terrible education, bad life circumstances, and turn out not to have a great life. That's not on the IQ. Like, is IQ measurable in genes and DNA, or is that not the right question?
I think it's difficult to say. I think first of all, IQ is a test, and it's a kind of subjective test. But
right.
I think in order to measure intelligence in an individual, from a genetic perspective, we would need to do a lot of studies to study a lot of intelligent individuals and understand what their genetic background looks like, and then make correlations between the sequences of their genes and their intelligence. Are we there yet? I wouldn't say so, because I think it's more complicated than just
complicated. I mean, who's intelligent? Like, it's complex. Like, there's street skills, there's book smarts, there's processing for math problems, there's the ability to be emotional and like be smart with interacting with other people. There's lots of different types of intelligence. So it's like,
exactly.
So you have to start by defining it, then you have to find test subjects, then you have to compare and find the common things, and then you would have to test taking those common things, putting it in someone and seeing how that affects their life, and that might not outcome for 15, 20, 25 years. So it's complicated.
So, I would argue that, that's actually one of the things that makes life in general and humans and societies pretty incredible, is that we all have genetic diversity. Because we all have genetic diversity, we all have, different diversity of how we grow up. We all have different types of intelligence, different skills, but, together, humans are capable of pretty incredible things, and that's because we work together. So I would say if we entered into a world where we're only trying to edit our babies, and we're trying to say we only want to make smart people who are good at math, for example, that would actually really limit us as a species, because we'd only start to funnel all the intelligence into one particular kind of area.
Type of intelligence, right?
Yeah,
we're doing pretty good we're doing pretty well as a species, like humans. We're like, there's 8 billion of us, like, and there is something amazing about being a human being. That it's just the complexity of all this stuff involved, and we got a lot of special people, and we might not have that if we start to like homogenize like everyone being the same.